In this week's Talking About Orcs, we're going over Deffkoptas. So Deffkoptas are a very different kind of unit in a couple ways. So let's talk about them. So they're movement 14, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 5, strength 4, toughness 5, 4 wounds, 2 attacks, leadership 6, and a 4-up save. You can contain 1 Deffkopter. You can include 2 additional Deffkopters for 5 power rating, or 4 additional Deffkopters for plus 6, so 8 power rating. Each model is equipped with twin big shooter, slugga, and spinning blades. So there's no choppa, obviously. So, you know, the twin big shooters, no big deal. We've all seen those. But the spinning blades are kind of cool. So the melee weapon is strength plus 1, so there's strength 5 in combat. And make D3 hit rolls with each attack with this weapon instead of just 1. So those 2 attacks translate into 2 D3. Which overall isn't too bad, actually. And that's for a low base price of 30 points. So it'd be 40 with the twin big shooters, but with the rockets it does bump itself up to 54. It's got here we go, mob rule and daka. Turbo boost when this unit advances adds 6 to its move characteristic instead of rolling a dice, which is really nice, especially with Evil Sons, because then you get a guaranteed 21-inch move. Scouting ahead during deployment, you can set this unit up behind enemy lines instead of placing it in the battlefield. Placing it on the battlefield. At the end of any of your movement phases, they can swoop around to ambush the foe, set them up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from an enemy model, but they have to be within 14 inches of a battlefield edge, so you can't just put them anywhere. And they have clan, of course, and they are vehicles. They are vehicles. That's very interesting, which means they can be repaired by mechs. They have fly, speed freaks. So they've got a bunch of, pretty much every keyword on there is pretty important. I said vehicles means they can be repaired by a big mech on a bike that follows them around. They have fly, which means they can fall back and shoot. They can assault flyers. Speed freaks, so if they do run Evil Sons, they get now a 22-inch move, guaranteed, if they advance. And then they can still shoot without penalty if they do that if they're Evil Sons. But there's one thing that's missing on here that the Deffkoptas have done for a very long time, and that is bombing. There's no bomb option, which is kind of a disappointment. And I really missed the bomb. You know, I mean, it may not have been done a whole lot, even in the index. It just did, you know, what, D3 mortal wounds maybe, but still, it was free. So it was basically a free mortal wounds, which is never bad, never bad. So what are you going to use the Deffkoptas for? Well, there's a couple of things you can use them for. You can just run them up. That's kind of like being like bikes. A unit of 5 bikes along with your war boss mech with force field. And as I said, that he can repair the bikes, and you can use breaking heads on them. So if they take wounds, losses, you don't have to lose a 4-wound model with the war boss. So it'd kind of be like a tougher bike escort for your characters instead of using war bikes. It's not a whole lot of pricing difference, because 5 of these with big shooters are still going to run you 160 points. Or if you can put rockets on them, that's going to be 250, almost 260 points actually is what it's going to be for 5 of these with rockets. Those rockets really add a lot of points to these things. So 5 is going to be 200, or it's going to be 260 with rockets. Yeah. So that's steep. I mean, that's 10 boys. The difference between rockets and big shooters. I don't know if you're going to need big shooters. If you're going to be being assault aggressive with them, you probably want the rockets instead for the range and the power. But there's no other melee weapon option. You can't give them power claws. You can't really do anything with them. And they used to be, in the index, one of only 2 units that could have deployment shenanigans. But now Orks have nothing but deployment shenanigans if that's what you want. So what role is Deffkoptas really going to serve? Well, they do have the ability to disrupt, you know, absorb Overwatch. And since they have fly, if they are tied up with something, they can fall back and shoot. They can't recharge unless they're Blood Axe, right? Forgive me, I forget which clan has that ability. But whichever clan can fall back and shoot, can fall back and then charge again. Okay, I gotta know. Which clan is that? Sorry. This production value second to none. Let's see here. Yeah, Blood Axe, so they can shoot or charge, but not both, even if they fell back this turn. So, yeah, Blood Axe Deffkoptas with the fly keyword can fall back, shoot, and charge. As that's actually specifically in the Ork facts, because they have the fly keyword. So the fly gives them the ability to fall back and shoot, and the Blood Axe ability gives them to fall back and charge, which is actually pretty good. So they're a good disruption kind of Overwatchy, absorb Overwatchy unit. And, you know, with enough twin rockets, I mean, that's 10 rocket shots. That's not too bad with Daka. So there's a lot of cool things. And, of course, you give them Death Skull, so now they can re-roll one of those hits. They got that 6-up invul save, which is nothing to laugh at. Especially if they're by themselves without any support. Having that 6-up invul save is pretty good. Bad news, obviously, to re-roll the ones with their shooting. So yeah, there's a lot of cool things, and I think they're well priced for what you get out of them. They're not going to be, you know, doing a whole lot of damage, but you're not getting a whole lot of points investment in them either for that. So being able to set up objectives, you know, within 14 inches of the table edge and plop these guys down are just as useful as commandos or storm boys doing the same thing, but they provide a little more firepower when you do that. They go well with freebooters too, because you plop them down on an objective somewhere, and if they're within range when the culture procs, now they're hitting on 4s. That's not a bad use for them at all. So anyway, but the biggest thing about Deffkoptas is there's really no official model. I think the old metal model is still available on the GW website. But that's it. I mean, the cool plastic Deffkoptas that originally came out in Black Reach, you can still get them in those easy-to-build kits, whatever they're called, I forget, the Revell ones. But, and of course, you can always convert. Most of my Deffkoptas are looted LR jet bikes. But I do have 3 of the Black Skull that are Black Reach ones too. Probably could use some updating on those. Anyway. So modeling the Deffkoptas is going to be different because it's going to be a little hard to get a hold of the decent plastic ones because they're not readily available, and the metal one is expensive and a horrible model, and those molds are going to be, of course, decades old. So getting a hold of Deffkoptas, if you don't have them, it's going to be hard. And the plastic Black Reach ones actually are quite expensive on eBay. So that's one of the biggest. That's why this unit entry is interesting, because there's no real easy to get model for them yet. They're in the codex, but War Boss on a bike, Big Mech on a bike, Big Mech period are not, even though there's still the Big Mech with force field model on there, I think. Or did they take that down finally? Anyway, so you're going to use Deffkoptas are going to fill the same role as commandos, as storm boys, to drop down to be a cheap objective holder, and they're also good for filling up fast attack slots in a brigade detachment, because again they're 40 points each with the big shooters, so that gives you your entire fast attacks choices for 120 points. And again, they can drop down on objectives when you need them to late in the game. They're not going to do much if you just have individual Deffkoptas, but those extra command points you're going to get is probably going to be worth it. So do you still run Deffkoptas? I have actually not run them since the Codex came out, and I ran them very rarely before that. I just thought there was other better. I think commandos were always a better option, but commandos are way more aggressive than the Deffkoptas are, because Deffkoptas are definitely going to be wanting to sit back on a far objective and shoot their weapons instead of trying to get in and assault something. Unless you're trying to assault something and then use these guys as Overwatch absorbing units, because it can do that. A couple of these can do that very well with 8 wounds and a 4-up save, toughness 5. That's going to absorb some Overwatch for sure and still get in and allow your boys to go in untouched. So again, if you run Deffkoptas, let me know what you think in the comments below, and thanks for watching. Thank you for watching this episode of Talking About Orks. Please subscribe and hit the bell button for notifications for new Talking About Orks videos every Wednesday, new battle reports every Friday, and hobby videos whenever I can. Thanks for watching.